All right, hello teachers. Welcome to this workshop. My name is Kristen, and I'm going to be explaining what type 1 diabetes is today, and we're going to try to understand it, especially for students in a classroom. Okay, so to begin, what is type 1 diabetes? There are two types of diabetes. Type 2 is what we kind of stereotypically think of when we hear the word diabetes. It is when individuals create a tolerance to insulin, which can be due to diet, age, or lack of exercise. On the other hand, type 1 is a genetic disorder. It is when the pancreas stops producing insulin. I know I keep saying the word insulin, so we're going to now define it. In simple terms, insulin helps break down the food we consume. So, if our pancreas is not producing that, which is what happens if you're type 1, that means that you're not able to digest the foods and the sugars that you're consuming, which can cause a lot of problems, some that we're going to talk about a little bit later in this workshop. Now, a type 1 diabetic's blood sugar can become low or high, depending on how their blood and their body is responding to the insulin. Okay, so now we're gonna actually watch this video. And as we do, I want us to think of some things. So if you see here, I want us to think what a student will feel when they have high and low blood sugar and what will change their blood sugar.
Understanding blood sugar, the basics for school staff. Checking blood sugar is one of the most important tasks of managing type 1 diabetes. If you have a student with type 1 diabetes in your classroom, even for part of the day, it's important to learn the basics. Students with type 1 diabetes must check their blood sugar several times a day. This is done either with a glucose meter, which uses a small drop of blood from a finger, or a continuous glucose monitor, a wearable device that measures sugar every few minutes and sends the details to a receiver or smart device. Students should be able to check blood sugar whenever and wherever they need to. Blood sugar levels guide decisions about treatment, such as when and how much insulin to give and when to have a snack. Remember these four things about blood sugar. The carbohydrates in food raise blood sugar. Insulin lowers blood sugar. Stress, illness, or excitement can raise blood sugar. Physical activity usually lowers blood sugar. A student's blood sugar level can affect how they feel. For example, high blood sugar, usually above 15, can make it hard to concentrate. Low blood sugar, less than 4, can cause confusion. Low blood sugar must be treated right away with a fast-acting sugar like juice or candy. It's not safe to send a student to a different location or leave them alone if you think their blood sugar is low. If you suspect a low but aren't able to check, treat it anyway. Remember, a blood sugar reading is neither good nor bad. It's information that helps a student and their parents make decisions about diabetes management. Be sure to have a communication system to share a student's daily blood sugar levels with their parents or caregivers. Understanding the highs and lows of blood sugar and knowing when and how to check it can help keep kids with type 1 diabetes safe at school.
All right, so now we're gonna kind of review what we learned in that video. So a student will feel when they have high or low blood sugar. Now, as I mentioned in the video, when they have high blood sugar, it's really hard for them to concentrate. And if they have low blood sugar, it can cause confusion. So, as you can imagine, this creates a difficult situation for a type 1 diabetic student as they're trying to learn new material or they're trying to take a test. And it can really prove to be a disadvantage in the classroom. But our whole purpose is to make sure that it doesn't affect their learning and that they can still progress just as well as other students around them. So, some things that will change their blood sugar. If they have high blood sugar, they need insulin to lower their blood sugar. And if they have low blood sugar, they need food and carbohydrates to increase their blood sugar. So, now we're going to talk about the factors that affect blood sugar as discussed in the video. So, carbohydrates in food will increase blood sugar. Insulin will lower the blood sugar. Sickness and excitement usually increases blood sugar, and exercise and physical activity decreases blood sugar. So I want to add here, if the student has a PE class and they already have a low blood sugar, it is a really bad to let them do PE because it'll just keep lowering their blood sugar. So that's just kind of something to think about. Okay, so now we're going to talk about in the classroom. What can you do for your students? Something that you can do is let them keep their snacks in a safe place. And personally, I think that best place is probably a drawer in your desk. This is because if you ask the type 1 diabetic to keep their snacks in their desk, it's possible that a peer will steal them. I mean, we hope that that doesn't happen, but it is a possibility, and it might, cause contention as they wonder why they get to have snacks and they don't. So if you just have it at your desk and they can just come and grab it when they need it, I feel like that's kind of the best case scenario. Now, what does snack do to blood sugars? We talked about it earlier, so if you don't remember, go back and listen to this again so you guys can remember that. Something else that you can do is have a special sign they can use to let you know when they need to go to the nurse or the restroom. So, type 1 diabetics typically have to use the restroom more frequently than other students. So, it's probably not a good thing to have like a max amount of times they can go to the bathroom. But if you have a special sign that they can use, it really doesn't, it helps not disrupt your lecture, and they don't really have to explain themselves. So this could be like holding up like the number 3 or whatever you guys decide prior to it being an actual emergency. So if they need to go to the nurse, they can just hold up that sign, no questions asked, they can just go there and handle the situation immediately. So, just a reminder, a type 1 diabetic should not be left alone if they are low, which includes going to the nurse. So, this means that you guys should probably decide on a person that will walk the type 1 diabetic to the nurse in case of emergency. This could be either a really good friend of theirs or someone that you feel like is really trustworthy in your class. Either way, it should be decided beforehand so that when it comes time to when they need to go to the nurse, they can get there as quickly as possible. And something else that you can do for your students is if their blood sugar is low or high, they should get an exception from taking tests. And the reason why is because, like we talked about earlier, it can be really hard to concentrate, really hard to focus, and that can really prove to be a disadvantage if you expect your type 1 diabetic to take a test when their peers are not facing the same problems as them. So, something to keep in mind. All right, well, that includes this workshop. Thank you, everyone, for participating. I hope that you found this informative and that you'll be able to apply some of the things that we talked about today in your own classroom.